So a few people wanted to know about my Series 1. I brought it in to sort that leak out, that very expensive leak on the top of the gearbox, because it was just dripping all the time after I took it for a run. Anyway, that's a cheap and easy fix to do. In fact, I think I'll go and see JP, see what he's got in his armoury of bits and bobs. He might have a piece of sealing material there that's even better. The problem with it is it's got a little spring on the cap, and the spring's kind of weak, and I don't think Land Rover actually sell them anymore. So I took this out of the container a few weeks ago because I was tidying up, and I thought I'd leave it running in the sunshine, you know, and get the oils going around it, charge up the battery, and, you know, make sure it's alright. Well, all was well, and it idled like a little Singer sewing machine, but all of a sudden it just quit. Now, we opened up the fuel tank, there's plenty of fuel in there. Fuel pump's working fine. This had me scratching my head a little bit. Why would it just stop? So what I did was, I just pulled the choke out a little bit and it started. Brilliant. But it wouldn't idle. It would not have it. It wouldn't Billy idle. So I took the carb off and stripped it down, cleaned it, put it through the ultrasonic and made it nice again. And it still wouldn't have it. I stripped it down about 3 or 4 times. Now the carburetor on this thing is not the Solex. It's actually a little Weber off a 2 1/4 petrol. Now these are really simple. But the thing is that I have still the old Solex carburetor that came with this, but the problem was you couldn't, at the time when I built this many years ago, the rubber seals, even in the replacement kits, were all sort of perished and finished because obviously there's no real demand for them anymore. You know, because after this year, this was 1958, so 1959 they sort of all discontinued them and moved on to 2 1/4s, which is all well and good, but the different system altogether. So there was no parts available on the shelf at the time. I don't know if they're reproducing them, but the easiest way to do it was I don't know how much a carb was then. Was it like 40 quid or something like that? A long time ago. So I bought a Weber. Why did I buy a Weber, not a Zenith? Well, the bolt pattern on the Weber is actually it's got slots in it. So you can move it into different positions, if you see what I mean. Like the stud centres can be a little bit different. When I tried a Zenith, it just wouldn't fit. It was too big. And also on the Weber, if you take off the lever off your original Solex and put it onto this one, I can't remember, but you could still use the mechanical linkages for the throttle, and it worked out absolutely perfect. So what was going wrong? Now usually when a car doesn't idle, it's perhaps drawing air in. So I took the vacuum pipe off the advance and retard and sucked on it, as you do. And sure enough, it was sucking air through. I thought, that's it, it's running weak because of that. So I managed to find in the back of a container another advance and retard diaphragm unit. You could actually, what was that? It was windy outside. You could actually buy a new one. It was about 60 quid. Well, I thought, well, I'm not going to pay that much. Anyway, so that's worked out fine. Still wouldn't idle. Oh, this is really frustrating now because nothing has changed. I changed the fuel, I changed the filter, I changed everything. The carb had been stripped down that many times, I think it could take itself to bits. But I'll show you what the problem was. I thought, before I show you what it was, maybe I should explain how these carbs work. They're extremely simple. They have sort of a main jet and an idle jet and some other bits of drillings and things like this. So I printed out a sheet here for you, and whilst I'm holding this up here, I'll talk to you and I'll try and explain it. So there's your float bowl, and there's a sort of a jet in there. All right, and then the fuel comes up through this emulsifying tube, across here, and this is your idle jet. Just here. It's in a housing. What happens is, you can see there's an arrow coming down there for some air. The fuel is emulsified with air and then gets to your needle valve here. Now, this is all sort of drawn with vacuum, if you see what I mean, because it's on this side of the butterfly, so there'll be a strong vacuum, so it's pulling fuel through. Now, you can see on this piece of diagram here how it actually works. When the butterfly's open, these two little drillings here allow fuel to come through, and through the idle jet as well. So that would explain why, when I revved it up, it was fine, but it wouldn't idle. Seemed to be the jet was blocked, but how? I'd been through ultrasonic stuff like this, it didn't seem to shift it. So daft bugger me thought, well, what's the alternative? A new carburetor maybe? Well, that's going to be very expensive. So I thought I'll take the drill out, I'll take a drill to the jet, and I got my smallest drill possible and I drilled the hole out a little bit and it idled. Brilliant. So that was its problem. But the problem was, if we go back to this original diagram here, because I drilled out the jet larger here, there was getting more fuel through. So instead of coming through the needle valve here, even with the needle valve fully closed off, it still was running rich. So it would idle, but it was running rich. So fuel was coming through these two little holes here more than it should. I hope you get that, because it's kind of simple. So now I knew what it was. I asked James in the UK, see if he could buy me a couple of jets for this this Weber, because they wouldn't send them to Canada. And they come in all sorts of different sizes. So now I'll get it out and I'll show you where the jet is. So on your carb, the idle jet is here, right on the very top. So if you get your slender hands around here with a screwdriver, wait a minute, clean it up first. Here we go. You can actually take the jet out without taking the carb to bits. Now you're going to lose a bit of fuel, but even I can afford that. So there we go. Let me put the camera back on here. There's the jet. You can see the little orifice in there, and if you look round the side you can see little drillings where the air gets through. Easy, eh? But that's not the jet. This is the carrier. That's the jet. There. That little thing there. And you can see how small that hole is. Now, because I wasn't really sure about this idling jet thing, because I've never played around with them before, it seems to, for the Land Rover, it seemed to be a 5.0. Now, whether that's 0.50, I really have no idea. But on the website in the UK, you could get 5, 5.0, 5.2 and 5.5 diameter holes. So we got 3. They were only £2.30 each, because that's well within my budget. Tried the 5.0, it was okay, but it could be better. Because when you're playing around with the mixture screw, the idea is that when you lift up the throttle, if it starts popping back through your carburetor, it's too weak. All right, it's too weak when it pops back. So, and it's usually 3 half turns or 1.5 turns of your mixture screw to set it in a rough idea, because it's like a variable orifice, if you see what I mean. So that gets you, that's what sets your mixture. It is very, very fine and very precise. But the 5.2 jet worked absolutely perfectly. So why did it go bad? I have no idea. But maybe because it's been stood a long time, there was some water in the fuel. Maybe it corroded the brass bits here, because I don't start it all the time, you know. Anyway, it was a cheap fix, saved buying a carb, and also save buying a distributor. Now it starts brilliant and it runs and idles nice. But it's just one of those stupid little things that can put you down a different route, think, oh, maybe something to do with timing, maybe it's something to do with this, that and the other. No, it's not, it's just that. Now there is a filter in the top of the carb. Let's go back down here again. There is a fuel filter in the carb, but it's under here. There's a little mesh filter under here. But even that was allowing a little bit of sediment to settle in the bottom of the carb. Not much, just like a grey dusty type stuff. Strange, because like I say, I've got a main fuel filter, then there's the filter there, but it's still getting muck and rubbish through. But was it enough to block this up? Was there something in it? Because I held it up to the light, I couldn't see anything wrong with it. Anyway, it's fixed, it runs, and it's great. Let me start it and I'll show you. Right, here goes, cold start. Man, it's not that cold because it's warm in the shop, but let's see how it starts. Yeah, that's not too bad. That's on half choke, but I better not run it too long, otherwise I might not be able to make any more episodes, because my exhaust pipe extraction is on that side and it won't reach the tailpipe on this side. Back in a tick. So that's that done. Easy.